Good evening, everybody. I'm Sue Peshin, CEO of the Alliance for Aging Research, and I'm very pleased to be with all of you tonight.
And I'm Dan Perry, President of the Alliance for Aging Research. And as you can see, there have been some changes at the Alliance this past year. And one of the most important and consequential of those changes is the elevation of Sue Peshin to be Chief Executive Officer of the Alliance for Aging Research.
Thank you.
And let me tell you, Sue is already well on her way to bringing her high-octane and inspirational leadership to our not-for-profit organization. And we're very, very pleased with that. In fact, this new enhanced executive suite at the Alliance ensures that we are going to be an even stronger and more effective not-for-profit organization, bringing meaningful health education to an aging America and fighting hard for policies that will enshrine and treasure and value innovation and creativity in the next generation of medical therapies for older Americans and for people everywhere.
Thank you so much for helping us celebrate outstanding leaders in the public and private sector that are advancing better health and quality of life for all of us as we age. Dan and I are thrilled to have so many colleagues and friends in the room tonight, and in particular, the Alliance Board of Directors supports us in so many ways, and we are fortunate to have many of them here with us this evening, and I ask them to please stand and be recognized.
Board members. And we will be seeing all of you tomorrow morning for our board meeting. Now, for tonight, lucky for us and for you, by popular demand, we have been able to persuade Kevin Rigby to come back as our Master of Ceremonies tonight. Now, you know Kevin as the Vice President for Public Affairs at Novartis and head of U.S. country for Novartis public affairs across the board. And on top of his enormous corporate responsibilities, Kevin gives unstintingly of himself to many charitable and not-for-profit and voluntary organizations, whether it's in Novartis' own backyard of New Jersey, or here with the Alliance, or the famous Rigby Run at Georgetown University, and voluntary activities that ripple across the entire country. We are also fortunate to have Kevin on our side and to be with our MC tonight.
This year, the Healthcare Business Women's Association announced Kevin as its honorable mentor. The Alliance was pleased to nominate Kevin for this award. We thank Novartis for their sponsorship this evening, and Kevin for his leadership, for his inspiration, and for his endless charm. Please join us in giving him a big welcome to our stage.
I saw everybody chug when I heard endless charm. They're like when I talk to my dog. So first of all, good evening, everyone. This is another exciting night we're going to have together for an incredible Alliance for Aging Research. We have more attendees than last year, and we were able to really build on the successes from what we heard from you. You gave some great feedback and said, keep it coming, make sure you end it on time. There was and I know who wrote that. And also, there wasn't really a lot of comments about the Master of Ceremony, so you could amp that up a little bit. But what we have here tonight is we really try to do a few things. First and foremost is really an opportunity to highlight and honor some special individuals who have made a difference in this aging space so that people can live longer, healthier lives. And so we try to do that. We also try to educate you a little bit more for those who aren't aware of the work that the Alliance does. The incredibly good work in terms of bettering research, elevating awareness, helping out legislatively. So we hope when you leave here tonight, you again embrace the Alliance in any way that you can. whether you supported us at the dinner, membership, anything that you think about, because we all recognize that our world is getting older. We're going to need better research, better cures and discoveries coming forward, and this alliance does that and more. So we welcome everybody here, and we really want to acknowledge some top dignitaries that we have with us this evening. First, we have Congressman Alan Grayson, who is one of the original members of the Alliance for Aging Research. So if you want to run for Congress, you start here. It's really clear, right? And so we also have Congressman Steve Stockman. We have Dr. Janet Woodcock, the director of the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research at the FDA. We have Dr. Story Landis, director of the National Institute for Neurological Diseases and Stroke. We have Dr. Teresa Mullen, director of strategic programs at the Food and Drug Administration. We have Captain Lori Burke from the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research at the Food and Drug Administration. We have Dr. Kathy Hudson, deputy director for Science, Outreach, and Policy at the National Institute of Health. We have John Finley, the National Program Leader for Human Nutrition at the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. And so that's just a list of some of the incredible people who have taken time from their busy schedules that are making an impact each and every day in this aging space, and they're with us this evening. But I also want to say this evening cannot come and occur if it wasn't for strong support. So we're going to highlight just a few of these as you're eating, and please continue to eat. No, I'm teasing. So first of all, I want to thank those who made this possible. First, our award sponsors, the Claude Pepper Foundation, sponsoring the Claude Pepper Award, and of course the MetLife Foundation, underwriter of the MetLife Foundation Silver Scholar Award. It is really through your commitment and your support and consistent generosity that we've been allowed to do what we do well. So we really want to thank again the Claude Pepper Foundation as well as the MetLife Foundation. We also need to thank the platinum and silver sponsors that include Applied Policy, Eli Lilly, Fox Kaiser, Genentech, GlaxoSmithKline, Glenn Foundation, Johnson & Johnson, Mars, Pharma, and Roche. Again, this dinner and all the events that we sponsor throughout the year would not be occurring without your continued and strong generosity and commitment to the Alliance. So again, we also want to thank you for doing that. And finally, finally, we really want to thank this evening's co-chairs. So the first one is Alan Fox. So on paper, he's the managing partner at Fox Kaiser. He also serves as the chair for the Alliance Board of Directors. We have known Alan, I have personally known Alan for years. It is his leadership, his wisdom, his insight. What else did you write? It was all these things. To say that Alan is a central part of who we are would be an understatement. So, Alan, we want to thank you and your consistent generosity and leadership over the years, and as our chairman. So a big round of applause for you. We also want to thank our another co-chair, Dr. Harold Schmitz, and he's the Chief Science Officer for Mars Incorporated, and Harold has recently become this co-chair, and we can't thank him enough for doing this. He's brought a lot of spirit, enthusiasm to the dinner, and we would say more about him if he would do it another year. But honestly, we're so happy to have Mars here. We're really appreciative, and we think that this is really special. Right now, I think that it's important for us to recognize that across the board, each and every one of you who sit here, whether you are the co-sponsor, a member, or you've taken time out from your evening, we sincerely, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for what you're doing and helping us to pursue this mission even further. So with that, we want to thank in the dinner program our other people, which has signages throughout the room. These are other groups and entities and organizations that continue to support us. So we encourage you, as you spend the rest of the evening with us, look through the program because those names are also important for us to fulfill our mission. So with that, we'd like to share with you an inspirational video. And this video is the Alliance for Aging Research, and it's going to show you some of the impressive accomplishments of the Alliance for the past year and the impact they have made on aging Americans. As I said, many of you know the Alliance, and certain you have been participating in several of the events and supporting it, but hopefully this video will show you a little bit more about what the Alliance is about and what its mission is doing each and every day.
The Alliance for Aging Research is the leading nonprofit organization dedicated to accelerating science in order to improve the human experience of aging and health.
We must advance policies that promote and spur innovation, not stifle it. And we must ensure that at the end of the day, promising therapies reach the patients in need of them.
The Alliance took the lead in organizing advocates to increase federal funding for Alzheimer's disease by $100 million in fiscal year 2014. The Alliance chairs the Accelerate Cure and Treatments for Alzheimer's Disease ACT-AD Coalition, which held 2 groundbreaking meetings in the last year on combination therapy development that drew high praise from the Food and Drug Administration.
I want to just give you my view of the meeting. One of my favorite quotes in all of literature was written by W.C. Fields. He wrote an essay about benefit performances. These are performances for charities. And he said, now they're all for worthy causes, and I'm sure some of them are. So I go to a lot of meetings, and they're all very important, and some of them are. And this one, most definitely in my view, is amongst the most important meetings that I've been to.
Because of meetings such as these, we've become known for our expertise and advocacy on FDA-related issues. Throughout the year, the Alliance served on the boards and advisory committees of several well-known innovation-focused coalitions. The Alliance released the Silver Book on Persistent Pain. The Silver Book provides free and easy access to the latest information on the burden of chronic diseases that disproportionately impact older Americans.
All people in pain need to be given timely, appropriate, and effective pain treatment. The release of this book today is one tool that will make a huge difference in people's lives, and I'm very proud to be here today and be part of it.
The Silver Book program also released the go-to resource on healthcare-acquired infections.
And I want to thank the Alliance for Aging Research for releasing this very important fact sheet on healthcare-associated infections and antimicrobial resistance, and for organizing the call today so that we can get more of these problems and understanding out in the public sphere and urge the government for additional action.
This fall, the Alliance is helping the Geroscience Interest Group at NIH to host their first ever summit on the science of aging. The goal is to promote joint research efforts across disease areas to tackle root causes of aging and eventually develop interventions. These are just some of the many ways we are helping people stay healthy for as long as possible and maintain dignity when they do face illness.
These are the people, the Americans who fought our wars, worked in our factories, taught our children, and gave us life and love. We have a special responsibility to get this right for all older Americans.
None of this could happen without you. We do this because we want to see our loved ones age with good health, with connection, with a feeling of purpose, and with hope. At the end of the day, we all want to make a difference, and that's what you're doing with us. Thank you so much for your support and for joining us along the way.
Well, I think that shares a little something about what the Alliance is, but I can tell you firsthand, I've been proud to be a member for nearly 10 years, and I can tell you that they are so committed to not only improving the health, but allowing seniors to live independent lives. And what a reward that could be if we get that right. So I know the Alliance is on the fast track for doing that. We saw that Sue was here. Sue was just really bringing such energy as a new CEO. And I also say the one who was most happy about Sue coming was Alan's wife. Where is Dan's wife over there? So anyhow, so with that, Alan's wife, I was like, where's Alan? Actually, that's sort of a scandal that we need to talk about. So that's just moving along. So with that, how about that? So why don't we begin tonight's ceremony? I want to introduce our first presenter. So that's Bart Patterson, Senior Vice President of Corporate Affairs for Eli Lilly and Company. Bart Patterson joined Eli Lilly and Company in June of 2009, and he's a member of the company's executive committee. From 2000 to 2007, Bart served 2 terms as mayor of Indianapolis, the nation's 12th largest city. He also served as president of the National League of Cities in 2007. Let's give Bart a big welcome.
Thank you very much, Kevin, and good evening, everyone. Tonight it is my pleasure, as well as my privilege, to announce this year's recipient of the Alliance for Aging Research's Distinguished Public Servant Award. This award honors an elected federal official who exemplifies excellence in public service. This year, the Alliance for Aging Research is especially proud to honor Senator Jerry Moran, ranking member on the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee for Labor, HHS, Education, and related agencies. He is a firm supporter of medical research and believes that our nation's consistent funding of medical research is essential to saving and improving lives, reducing health care costs, and strengthening America's position as a global leader in medical innovation. He has been one of the biggest champions in calling for substantial increases in funding for NIH in either the House or the Senate, as much as $1.4 billion in the most recent fiscal year 2014 Senate budget resolution. He's also an active member of several disease-specific and health-related caucuses, including the bicameral Congressional Caucus on Parkinson's disease, the bicameral Congressional Task Force on Alzheimer's disease, the Senate Diabetes Caucus, and the Senate Rural Health Caucus. Please join me in presenting this highly deserved award to Senator Moran in recognition of his exceptional achievements as a public servant who understands the importance of supporting the health and well-being of all citizens through passage of better laws and regulations and appropriation of needed funding. We salute you, Senator Moran.
Good evening, everyone. It's a privilege to be with you. I appreciate the opportunity to join you this evening and to express my gratitude to all of you in this room who are allies in the effort to make certain that the quality of life, the opportunities that we all have, and that we have certainly as we age are available to every American, in fact, available to citizens around the world. It's a privilege to be here with the other honorees. My colleague from North Carolina, Senator Hagan, will be recognized as well. I noticed that Dr. Hodis is the indispensable person of the year, and while I would say that no one is indispensable, if there's someone who comes close to this cause, Dr. Hodis at NIH is certainly one of those. So it's a privilege and pleasure to be here, recognized among all those folks who are so deserving in their efforts. Let me just say a couple of things. In fact, I came from the Senate floor this evening where I spoke about the value of medical research, spoke in particular about the value of medical research as it relates to Alzheimer's. This interest comes to me. I noticed I would indicate that I'm self-absorbed enough that I read the bio in the program to see what you said about me. And one of the things that I thought it highlighted was an interest in entrepreneurship, startup companies, innovation. And I want to express part of that legislation that we are pursuing to try to jumpstart the economy, create jobs. Innovation is an important component of that. An important component of innovation is the ability for us to attract those who have high educational interest and intellect, talent in the area of medical research. And one of the crazy things that we have in our laws here in the United States related to immigration is the idea that we can educate foreign-born, but PhD receiving engineers, scientists, researchers, mathematicians, physicians, and others, and then tell them they're no longer welcome in the United States. One of the great things we could do for medical research is to make sure that we win the global battle for talent so that we have the necessary research scientists in the United States of America. Certainly the resources necessary to pursue that research at the NIH and elsewhere are important to our country. One of the things that I think is critical is that we need to make certain that our commitment to NIH is ongoing, that it doesn't fluctuate, that one year there's a belief that NIH is important and the next year it's not, because that sends a signal to those who are pursuing careers in science and research that maybe the United States is not the place they want to pursue their career, and we lose those U.S. folks to other countries, or maybe we send a message to kids who are now in high school and college that maybe there's a different career for me than what I thought I wanted to do, which was to pursue the cure of diseases and to find treatments. And so what we need to make certain is that this Congress is fully committed to an ongoing medical research foundation that provides the necessary dollars for that research to occur. And the reality is, thank you, the reality is that if you are the most conservative, interested only in the cost, what's it going to cost, if you're only interested in making sure the books balance, you should be for medical research. If you are the most loving, caring, and kind person who is interested only in the humanity of people, about their future and their livelihood, their well-being, you should be for medical research. This is an opportunity, in my view, in this dysfunctional and difficult Congress to bring people together who either are looking to save the last dime or those who are looking for, in every fashion, to care for every human being. Medical research brings us together with the opportunity to do both. Because for dollars that we spend in medical research, we will save them, and for dollars that we spend in medical research, we will provide hope and ultimately the cures and treatments for diseases that are so damaging to individuals, to families, and to our country's future. Let me say that, in conclusion, that my father will be 98 in November. He is doing everything he can to age well. He is walking. He still drives. He still lives at home. But I called the other day and I said, and we come from a very modest home, and I said, Dad, you sound like you're out of breath. He says, oh, I was walking up and down the hallway trying to get some exercise. The hallway can't be longer than the stage in this room. And my dad is also teaching himself Spanish. And he's doing that in order to make certain that his mind continues to function. We no longer can get my children, his grandchildren, to have dinner with us at a Mexican restaurant because my dad is of the view that he speaks Spanish and the waiters understand Spanish, neither of which is true. And more recently, I was at the cardiologist with him where he was having the battery replaced in his pacemaker. And my dad says to the doctor, Dr. Curtis, now when I was in the Army, and my dad's a World War II veteran, he said, we used to be able to do, they had us do these things. And the doctor goes, jumping jacks? And my dad goes, yes, doctor, that's what I want you to help me to be able to do. And the message that I wanted to say and then realized otherwise is I would have thought of saying, Dad, you are 97. It's probably not within your capabilities. But then as we think about it, it is that human spirit, that desire to do something that maybe we don't know we can't do, that makes life so worth living. And we need to make certain that every American, every person has the opportunity to pursue that life of hope and future that we all want in our own lives, but certainly want in our families. God bless you for the efforts that you make to be certain that all Americans have the opportunity to live a long and healthy life. It is a noble calling, and I'm honored to be with you this evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Very nice to meet you. Let's take a quick photo. All right.
Well, thank you, Senator Moran, for those inspiring remarks, and thank you for what you do each and every day. So now I want to introduce Tom Spulik, Chairman and President of the Claude Pepper Foundation. So Tom is a partner in the Washington, D.C. office of King and Spalding, and many years ago, Tom served as the staff director for the House Rules Committee when Claude Pepper was chairman, and he was at Chairman Pepper's side throughout his time in the House when Claude Pepper became a champion for America's seniors. Today, Tom is chairman and president of the Claude Pepper Foundation, and he'll be presenting tonight's prestigious Claude Pepper Award. So let's give Tom a big round of applause and welcome. Hey, Tom.
Thank you so much, and good evening. On behalf of the Claude Pepper Foundation's Board of Directors and the Pepper Center at Florida State University, I'm pleased to be here tonight to present the Claude Pepper Award for advancing healthy aging through research. Before I do, I want to congratulate Senator Moran on receiving his award. That in itself was a significant honor. The Pepper Award is given each year to a Democratic member of Congress who is a demonstrated leader in the promotion of the health and well-being of aging Americans through research. Past recipients have included Senator Dick Durbin, Representative and now Senator Ed Markey, and last year's recipient, Representative Allison Schwartz. If you indulge me for a moment, let me remind some people who Claude Pepper was, and perhaps for some people tell them for the first time something about him. The award is dedicated to his memory. Pepper was born at the turn of the 20th century in Alabama. At an early age, he moved to Florida, and there he was elected to the U.S. Senate, where he served for 14 years. He was an early supporter of a national health care policy and was the chief sponsor of the legislation that created the first 5 National Institutes of Health. He lost his Senate seat at the beginning of the Red Scare in 1950, but re-entered Congress in 1962 as a member of the House of Representatives. While there, he became the nation's leading advocate for the rights and health of aging Americans while serving as chairman of the House Aging Committee. He concluded his career as chairman of the House Rules Committee, where he continued to use his power to try to better the health and well-being of all Americans. Time may have caused his memory to fade for those who knew him, and for a new generation, he may be unknown. But the ideals which drove him to dedicate over 50 years of his life to public service live on. Tonight's recipient of the Pepper Award is an individual who carries on Pepper's legacy of dedicated public service and enduring efforts to improve the health of all Americans. Senator Kay Hagan came to Washington in 2009 and has been distinguishing herself ever since. Her work in the Senate began much earlier, however. In the 1970s, she interned as an elevator operator for her late uncle, Lawton Chiles, who was a long-serving senator for Florida and who was once the chairman of the Senate Aging Committee. Since her official arrival in the Senate, Senator Hagan has taken up her uncle's mantle as a tireless advocate for our nation's seniors. Among her committee assignments, she serves on the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, where she strives to improve the quality of life and brings hope to North Carolina's 1.1 million seniors, as well as all Americans facing health challenges. In the Senate, she's leading an effort to help seniors better manage their prescriptions and save on health care costs by expanding Medicare's medication therapy management program to any senior who suffers from chronic diseases. In the past, she has championed efforts to invest in preventative health care initiatives to keep people healthy longer. She's a tireless advocate for full and increased funding for the National Institutes of Health so that it can continue its mission of basic medical research. She was a leader in the passage of last year's FDA Safety and Innovation Act and its promise of greater access to new and better treatments. Senator Hagan is not only a true friend of older Americans, but of all who dedicate their lives to finding ways to improve the lives of Americans. While she's unable to be with us tonight, I'm pleased to present the Claude Pepper Award for Advancing Healthy Aging through Research to Senator Kay Hagan. In her place, Josh Teitelbaum on her staff will accept the award. And we have a video from Senator Hagan. Again, couldn't make it, but she has prepared something for us to view tonight.
Good evening. I'm Senator Kay Hagan, and I wish I could be with you in person. I am honored to receive the Claude Pepper Award tonight, and I would like to thank the Alliance for Aging Research for your tremendous advocacy on behalf of older Americans. I would also like to congratulate my fellow award recipients this evening, Senator Jerry Moran, Dr. Richard Hodis, Martha Stewart, and Dr. David Wise. Your leadership, hard work, and strong commitment to innovation are helping millions of Americans live healthier, more productive lives. In the U.S. Senate, I am committed to working with you to support medical research and innovations that improve the quality of life for our seniors. As you know, I serve on the Senate Health and Education Committee, and I'm very pleased that last year we were able to pass the FDA Safety and Innovation Act with a near unanimous bipartisan vote. This was one of the most encouraging and rewarding efforts I've been part of in my time in the Senate. I'm especially proud that sections of a bill that I worked on with many of you, the TREAT Act, or Transforming the Regulatory Environment to Accelerate Access to Treatments, is now included in the law. The TREAT Act streamlines and expands the accelerated approval pathway for new drug review at the FDA without compromising or altering FDA's high standards for safety and effectiveness. This accelerated pathway could help speed the development and review of drugs that might slow or prevent diseases such as Alzheimer's, allowing us to get drugs to people earlier in the course of the disease when the medications are most likely to be useful. As you know, for seniors suffering today from diseases for which current treatments aren't adequate or don't exist at all, medical advances cannot come fast enough. That's why I will continue to fight for funding for basic medical research. The work of organizations such as the NIH hold great promise for improving public health while curbing our nation's healthcare costs and spurring economic growth. I was extremely disappointed that Congress failed to avert sequestration earlier this year, requiring the NIH to cut 5% or $1.5 billion from its budget. This is simply unacceptable. Now is not the time to waver on our long-term commitment to innovation. However, I am pleased that the Senate Appropriations Committee approved a bill in July that has increased funding to the NIH by $300 million, bringing total funding for next year to almost $31 billion. We need to get this bill passed and signed into law as quickly as possible. I want to once again thank the Alliance for Aging Research and each of you here tonight for your work to achieve healthier aging for all Americans. Know that I will continue to be your partner in this effort, and I am proud and honored to help carry on Claude Pepper's distinguished legacy on behalf of America's seniors.
At this time, I want to recall Josh Teitelbaum, who is the staff director of the Senate Health Committee, has some comments.
Oh, all right. I wasn't planning on, thank you. But as you heard, Senator Hagan is especially honored to receive the award because of her work on the TREAT Act. She regularly calls it the most rewarding experience she's had in Congress because of its bipartisan nature and support of medical research. And I know she'd be especially honored tonight because of the man for whom it's named after, Senator Pepper, and Senator Hagan's connection to a Florida Senate seat that she helped work for and in her family. So I am very honored to accept this on her behalf and thank all of you. So thank you.
Well, we're truly fortunate to have two U.S. senators amongst many loud and strong voices in the Senate and our Congress fighting these issues. So what we're going to do right now is take about a 15, 20-minute break to enjoy the meal before you, and then we'll continue on with the program. So we'll talk to you soon. Okay, so why don't we start it back up? We're going to ask everybody if they could So this was Alan, and that's Alan's wife over there with Dan. I want to first begin, after our break, to thank a company that also has been a huge supporter for the Alliance. Over the years, they have been a major supporter, and I was just talking to them, and I realized that I haven't acknowledged them. So a big round of applause for Endo Pharmaceuticals right here. So it's really my honor to continue our awards presentation. This one is a very, very special award. It's called the Silver Innovator Award. Now, what this award recognizes is an individual or an organization which has uniquely embraced the integration of high quality and cost-effective health care to bring better health, independence, and dignity to our seniors. So tonight it's my great pleasure to welcome Dr. Albert Su, the Ellen and Howard C. Katz Chairman's Chair of the Brookdale Department of Geriatrics and Palliative Medicine at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City. On a personal note, I want to point out a little connection here that many of you who've been attending these dinners would probably know, and that is that the Department of Geriatrics at Mount Sinai was the first of its kind of its nation, and it was founded by our dear friend and colleague, the late Dr. Robert Butler. And Bob was a pioneer in the field of aging, the first director of the National Institute of Aging. He served on the board of the Alliance for Aging Research from its inception. And I can tell you, when I served on the board and he came forward, what the wisdom he offered, the insights he shared, but the passion about making a difference was unparalleled from Bob. And I know that in 1986, until when we lost him just 3 years ago, he has made a huge difference. So now, under Dr. Su's chairmanship of the Department of Mount Sinai Medical School, houses a number of signature programs, including the Martha Stewart Center for Living. So let's give please a big round of applause for Dr. Su and welcome him to the stage.
First of all, my congratulations to Senators Moran and Hagan, Professor Wise, and my dear friend Richard Hodis, who will be receiving an award a little later. So when many of you think about Martha Stewart, healthcare for older Americans may not come top of mind. Okay, let's face it. Okay? So what is the connection here between the Silver Innovator Award and Martha? Well, 7 years or so ago, Martha partnered with us at the Mount Sinai Medical Center in New York City to create what is now known as the Martha Stewart Center for Living, an innovative healthcare program for older persons in New York, specializing in the care of the elderly. I thought at the time that Martha would lend her support. We would put her name, on a plaque in front, and that would be it. Little did I realize what I was getting into. So, being Martha, she chose the color scheme for the center. The flooring, the furniture, the upholstery, the paint, the entryway design, the doors that are synchronized depending upon how fast the person walks, the logo of the center, the bonsai tree, the bathroom tile, and the grout. Before I knew it, she had arranged to turn a barren strip of land across the street from the center into a garden. New York City public housing. There's a story from when we were constructing the center of her conversations with a contractor when she inspected the center and said that some of the tiles were not lined up quite straight. So, but her vision of the center, however, went beyond all of that. She wanted it to be a model of innovative healthcare delivery for older persons with a special focus on healthy living and aging, that focused on her passions for exercise, for yoga, and diet, based upon her experience as a caregiver, taking care of her mom, she also wanted the center to have a focus on the needs and issues of Americans taking care of older patients, of their family members. And if you were to visit the Martha Stewart Center today, yes, you would find a setting that's worthy of a magazine spread. And yes, you'll also find a garden across the street. But you're also going to see outstanding primary care for older adults being delivered. You're going to see training for healthcare professionals in action. You're going to see programs in yoga, in Tai Chi, which, by the way, has been shown to decrease the incidence of falls in older people. You're going to see pet therapy. And you're going to see programs, for caregivers. And also cutting-edge healthcare delivery in a patient-centered medical home in our accountable care organization at Mount Sinai. So, Martha, you saw the silver tsunami of baby boomers coming. You became a crusader for healthy living. You wrote a best-selling book, Living the Good Long Life, to educate the public. And you've used your position to raise awareness about aging and good health. So it is my great privilege and honor this evening to present the Silver Innovator Award. Ladies and gentlemen, Martha Stewart.
I'm fuzzy, but not really that fuzzy. Thank you. And congratulations to all the other honorees here tonight. It's a real pleasure to be included in such an illustrious and hardworking group. And I'm very delighted to be here. I love coming down to Washington. We got here a little early, and we went and had a great walk around Dumbarton Oaks. All the curators came out, and we learned a lot of history about that beautiful garden. So it's just so much fun to come here. But it is also very nice to be honored with this Silver Innovators Award. I like being known as an innovator. I'm a great admirer of the Allegiance for Aging Research and the important work and works that the Alliance does. As Dr. Sue mentioned, I've been interested in health and health care for a very long time. And I am concerned about the shifting demographics in our country. I am, frankly, quite worried about the nation's lack of preparation for the changes ahead. And that is really why I was interested to work with Dr. Sue. Dr. Chung is here too, Audrey Chung, from the Mount Sinai Center for Living that I founded 7 years ago. And it really is of concern, great concern for every single person in this room. We start getting old the minute we're born, and we kind of forget about it for quite a long time until, little aches and pains start setting in, and your kids look at you like, you can't do that, Mom. I go hiking with my daughter in Maine, and I was nicknamed Pokey Mom recently. I don't like that at all. So on my recent birthday, I hiked up to the top of Precipice, which is a deadly hike up in Acadia National Park, but I did it. And I could only one friend would do it with me. I mean, only one. My house full of guests, I had 30 guests. No one else came with me, so I'm very proud of that. But it is of great concern to all of us, and anything that we can do in government, in medicine, and research that can help with the great changes ahead in our demographics are very, very urgent and very important. I cannot stress it enough. Helping develop a program as we have it at Mount Sinai, the Center for Living, which was really built in honor of my mom, Big Martha we called her, even though she was a little bit shorter than I. But she was Big Martha until she was 93 years old, and she led a healthy, beautiful life for a very long time, mother of 6 kids. She was the chauffeur at 90, 91, 92, and 93 for her younger friends. She was driving up until the very end, and she was a really a great woman and a great example to anybody about keeping a strong mind and an active curiosity, a beautiful spirit, and a fairness in everything. You know, we tried to get to be her favorite. It didn't work. Nothing would change her mind that each of her children was special. and so we and Dr. Sue sort of indicated that I was her caregiver. We were all her caregivers, but she never needed it, which was a very nice example to set for all of us. She really helped us a lot. But I loved having her over for Sunday lunch because she had an active appetite. She loved the fresh vegetables, and she loved her glass of white wine. She was a really, really special woman. I was named for her. We had a very special relationship. I learned so many things from her. I learned how to sew, how to iron, how to cook, how to bake, how to garden, how to can and freeze things. And she was a teacher first and foremost to each and every one of us in the household, and to many of my friends. Many years later, she taught me by example that older people do not have to narrow the scope of their interests or their activities. Growing older does not have to mean less enthusiasm or enjoyment of life. She would find out what my lawyer liked to eat, and she would just make him a big plate of pierogi, and he would eat the whole plate. She would bake the favorite cake of my accountant. She would do whatever it took to encourage people that she was, and to inform people that she was just about the cat's meow. She liked being attractive, and she liked finding attractiveness in other people. It was a very nice quality that Mom had. But it was through her death in 2007 that I learned yet a very important lesson. At her funeral, which I helped arrange with my younger brother, George, I was simply astonished by how many people showed up. I had no idea that Mom had close to 1,000 friends that came to the service at the church. 1,000 people, standing room only for Mom. And yet I shouldn't have been surprised. She was a fabulous person to me, and she was certainly a fabulous person to the entire community in which she lived. And so that was a very, very important lesson that I learned. It was the letter writing, not the email. She learned how to do email, and she learned how to use her computer. I made sure that she had access to all the technology. But it was those notes that she wrote, the long letters in Polish to her relatives in Poland, the boxes of clothing that she collected and sent to underprivileged people here and there. She was a fantastic person, and we have to value that, and we have to encourage that in every one of our elders. And you know, we're all getting, as I said, we're all getting old. I'm an elder now. I can't believe it. I'm a grandma finally, and yet there are still many people older than I am that need attention and need care and need help. And we are not yet paying close enough attention to the silver tsunami. Soon, many millions of people will be over the age of 65 in America. It is a frightening statistic. And please, I hope you all do a little bit of research on your own and find out all those the death of my mom, a moving experience. She would have been 99 yesterday, September 16th. And all my siblings, we all shared little memories via email yesterday. We're scattered here and there, but we all remembered Big Martha. Dr. Sue also mentioned the Martha Stewart Center for Living, and I want to take a moment to thank the director of the center, Dr. Audrey Chun, who's with us tonight. Dr. Chun is a specialist in internal medicine and geriatric medicine. She's done a terrific job applying her expertise and her overall smarts and competence to keeping the center running smoothly. And every week or so, someone else comes up to me in a restaurant or on the street and says they've had a most amazing experience at the Center for Living. They've taken their parents, they've gone themselves. It's a really, really great pleasure to be affiliated and associated with such caring doctors as are at the center. The program is really great, and it should be prototypical. It should be studied by other hospitals, and every single hospital needs a center like this, which is prototypical and very able to teach other people how to run a center so that you can help the aging population. There are about 4,500 outpatients now, Audrey, at the center, and it's just great to be able to help that many people on a regular basis. So we are really exploring how integrative medicine and preventative measures can improve the quality of life in older adults. We're developing new educational and training models for the care of the elderly, and we're working very hard to change public perceptions of what it means to be an older person in our society. You will not be surprised to learn that the Center for Living has as its logo the bonsai tree. Dr. Sue made mention of that. And why the bonsai? Well, the bonsai, as it gets older and more gnarled and more crazy looking, it is more valuable. It becomes more expensive. And more cherished in the cultures that grow bonsai, and we have to adopt that same kind of care and nurturing for our older population. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. You go first. Kevin?
Well, thank you, Martha, and thank you for your commitment and story about your special mother. And I think everyone has special mothers or fathers or people who have made a difference in our lives, and I think that perhaps is a motivation for us to continue on this journey. But now it's my great pleasure to be able to introduce to you Peter Pasteur to present the 2013 MetLife Foundation Silver Scholar Award. Peter is Vice President of MetLife's Corporate Affairs Group, and he's representing the MetLife Foundation. So, Peter?
Thank you. Good evening. Snoopy couldn't be here, so I'm pretty sure they sent the largest possible surrogate for him, and that's me. Again, Peter Pasteur with MetLife. I'm here in our D.C. office. Pleased to represent the MetLife Foundation. For the past 3 years, MetLife's foundation has been proud to sponsor the Silver Scholar Award. This important award honors the work of economists, demographers, and related researchers whose scholarship increases our understanding of the value of healthy life after 65 and continued medical innovations that help people live longer, healthier lives. If I could just interject one little, what may sound salesy thing about MetLife. A U.S. largest life insurer, MetLife has grown from 15 countries to 50 in recent years. And so we try to come up with a unifying mission for all these tens of thousands of MetLife employees around the world. And it seems basic, but our mission is helping people pursue more from life. And when you think about it, we all can pursue more out of both the journey and the destination if we have financial stability. And Dr. David Wise's winning proposal makes this same linkage, I think, between education, financial resource, health, and well-being of older Americans. Now, the idea for the Silver Scholar Award grew from the Alliance's Silver Book on Chronic Disease and Medical Innovation in an Aging Nation. While the breadth and the depth of this resource are impressive, it also highlights the absence of good data on valuing life after 65. This award aims to change that. And the Silver Scholars receive a cash award in recognition of their significant research and support for writing a paper to be published in a peer-reviewed journal. Dr. David Wise, which I was privileged to join at dinner, is the Stambaugh Professor of Political Economy at Harvard Kennedy School of Government, which rejected me, by the way. And wish I'd known you then. And was chosen from a pool of highly accomplished nominees. He was selected in honor of his innovative work, which for the past 25 years has considered the relationship of education and healthy well-being later in life, and looked beyond current policy prescriptions for answers to the challenges posed by our aging society. Dr. Wise has already made tremendous impact in the area, and the judges of the Silver Scholar Award expect that he will continue to change the field. Tonight, we are proud to present Dr. David Wise with the 2013 MetLife Foundation Silver Scholar Award. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Wise.
They shouldn't have rejected you, Peter. I don't know how that happened. Well, I'm enormously pleased to receive the Silver Scholar Award. I must say that I'm especially pleased to follow an awardee who would mention demographic change. So, Martha Stewart, thank you very much for that. You'll see why I say that. For 25 years, I've been organizing a program, or worked directing a program on the economics of aging at the National Bureau of Economic Research. This program was largely started in response to demographic change. At the time, there was little academic interest in aging-related trends among economists. Now, the realization that policies and institutions must adjust to these trends is more widely appreciated. In particular, the need to prepare for more years in retirement and likely longer working lives is more widely understood. I should say that this past 25 years of research could not have been undertaken without grant support from the National Institute on Aging, and I thank the Institute for that. For many years, my personal work has been focused on the well-being of older Americans, in particular, the well-being of older Americans in retirement. Two trends have changed the landscape of retirement in the United States. The first is longevity. Over the past 4 or 5 decades, life expectancy of men at 65 is increased about 30%. The second trend is labor force participation. The labor force participation of men 60 to 64 has declined about 30% in the past 4 or 5 decades. Thus, people have been living longer and working less, which is not a tenable situation. In particular, the need to prepare for more years in retirement and likely longer working lives even more widely understood. More recently, I have framed my current research with the question, were they prepared for retirement? Health and financial resources are the paramount determinants of well-being in retirement. Both health and financial resources are largely determined by the time a person retires. So I give particular attention to the critical role of education, which is strongly related both to health and to financial resources. Education provides preparation not only for work, but also for retirement. Thus, there are three interrelated issues in my work: education, health, and financial resources. So I'm extremely pleased to receive this award in recognition of my research on the well-being of the older population, both in America and around the world. And I will endeavor to use the award to further my continuing work in this area. So thank you very much again.
Thank you, Dr. Weiss, and congratulations to you again on behalf of the Alliance. So now, for our final recognition here, please join in welcoming Dr. Terry Fox Weddle to the podium. Dr. Weddle is the inaugural Dean of the School of Public Health and a Professor of Human Services, Health Services, Policy and Practice at Brown University. She was a social policy analyst for the Administration on Aging in the Carter administration, and a former director of an area agency of aging in Oregon. After serving on the faculties of Harvard and Yale, can you imagine when that switch occurred? As well as the University of Connecticut, Dr. Weddle was recruited by the National Institute of Aging director Richard Hodes to be his first deputy director. She served at the NIA from 1995 through 2000, when she was recruited to the Brown University School of Medicine with the charge of building a new school of public health. Her research interests include end-of-life care, health service research, and promoting health of aging populations. We truly have a special person coming up here to the podium. Let's welcome Dr. Weddle.
In 1995, when Richard Hodes invited me to serve as his deputy, I asked, "What does a deputy do?" And he said, "I don't know, I never had one." And so we began 6 wonderful years of working together. I learned that Richard is a deliberate and principled decision maker, reading every document placed before him and asking difficult questions, always with the aim of fostering the very best science. Staff would cringe when Richard would enter a funding meeting with a stack 3 feet high of proposals, peppered with hundreds of Post-it notes, each one marking a question or concern with that proposal. As deputy, in addition to the somewhat disappointing, the task that was serving as the somewhat disappointing substitute for him when he was invited to conferences or events, my job description included a category, other duties as assigned. And I wasn't quite sure what that meant, but I learned that this included a very special duty when Richard was invited to the Hill to testify. That was, I would follow him to the trunk of his car, where he kept his trusty blue and very durable blazer, and my job was to point to the left or right pocket of that blazer to indicate whether on that day he should wear a red or a blue tie. Such is the burden of federal service. It is a special honor to return to the Alliance's annual Congressional Awards Gala, which separates bipartisan support among the nation's lawmakers for policies that will advance research and its applications to improving population health of older people. The Indispensable Person of the Year Award was created 8 years ago to recognize an individual outside of Congress whose leadership has advanced support for research and development of innovative therapies to enhance lives. Previous recipients have included Francis Collins, Peggy Hamburg, Mark McClellan, and Robert Fogel. There are innumerable reasons why Richard is indispensable. But in making this award this year, the Alliance notes 3 particular reasons. First, Dr. Hodes has provided indispensable leadership for implementing the National Plan to Address Alzheimer's Disease through the Federal Advisory Council on Alzheimer's Research, Care, and Services. As a part of his leadership, Dr. Hodes hosted a national summit on Alzheimer's disease that resulted in research recommendations for the national plan that has served as a crucial guide for the research community. Second, Dr. Hodes advocated for the creation of the Trans-NIH Geroscience Interest Group that involves 20 institutes and centers in discussion and implementation of age-related research across the NIH. On October 30th and 31st, the Geroscience Interest Group will host the first Trans-NIH Summit on advances in geroscience and their links to chronic diseases. Third, Dr. Hodes provides leadership for the Comparative Effectiveness Research Group, or CER, at NIH. CER research provides rigorous evaluation of different options available for treating patients. He co-chairs the NIH CER Advisory Committee to the Director, assuring the best use of funds and the dissemination of CER findings. I personally could go on and on about Richard's extraordinary contributions to the field of aging, but Richard taught me a very important lesson on impulse control. Richard, on behalf of the Alliance for Aging Research, Scientists in Aging, and the older populations they serve, we thank you for your visionary spirit and selfless service as signified by the Indispensable Person of the Year Award. And I invite you to come up so that I can present you with this beautiful crystal obelisk. No, it's for you. Do you think these ties are any better?
Well, thank you so much, Fox. When you can tell, Fox and I go back a long way as friends, as colleagues, and as often co-conspirators. NIA was very fortunate, and I was especially fortunate when we were able to recruit her to NIA. In doing so, we recruited her away from her then academic career. We also recruited her away from her in-person marriage with Richard Besdine, an eminent academic geriatrician. For 6 years, she had a commuting relationship until she returned. After leaving NIA, she's done well, by all accounts, including that of Richard Besdine. The marriage is done well in person. She's also had an extraordinary academic career, as you've heard, culminating in her appointment as the first dean of the newly created School of Public Health at Brown. When I joined NIA, I was joining an institute that had been founded by great individuals. The directors who had preceded me, you've heard about Bob Butler, the first director, and T. Frank Williams, the second director. They'd established a very strong institute that was committed to programs that would promote research in the interest of health and well-being of older men and women nationally and internationally. It was a very diverse program showing great insight. It supported basic research in both biological and behavioral areas, some of which you heard about from David Wise, as well as its translation into clinical implementation for the benefit of people, old and aging. I came to the Institute with, as all of us who've come to aging, interest with a personal perspective. And it's similar to what you've heard from a number of individuals here, influenced a great deal by the life course of my own parents. My father, who was a bright and strong and wonderfully good man, had his first heart attack at age 43 and died a few years later. So he never experienced old age. And what we've seen as a result of research over these past years has been an increase in prevention and treatment, which has meant that more and more people have lived to longer and more fulfilling lives. My mother lived on to become an important person in the lives of her children and her grandchildren. I was the first person in my family to graduate from college, but she was right behind. As she approached age 60, she got her bachelor's degree. And she was nearly 70 when she got her master's, which involved commuting with a transfer at the Port Authority building, some of you may know, late at night between subway and bus in order to get to her graduate school. At age 80, she was still shooting hoops with my daughter and friends in our driveway. And then shortly thereafter, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. Even through all of that, her spirit was quite incredible. She moved down here to be close. She moved into a residential facility where I visited with her, and I remember an occasion soon after she moved down, soon after I had joined the Institute on Aging, when I was speaking with her and a group of her new friends. And she introduced me and told them about my new job and added, I'm giving him quite an education. And of course, she was quite right. There was, and still is, so much more to do and so much to learn. The research programs at NIH have fostered research in a broad area. You've heard about a couple of those that were cited for particular attention here, and I'd like to talk about those just a bit, and amplifying what Fox has said. Recently, the national commitment to Alzheimer's disease was amplified and energized by the passage in 2011 of the National Alzheimer's Project Act. It brought together a new spirit of collaboration nationally, in fact, internationally, public, private sector, reflected the wonderful will of both the administration and bipartisan congressional support. It has allowed the formation of a national plan that was informed by the summit held last year, as you've heard, an aging research summit which brought together international groups of investigators to set out a research plan on which we could all embark and milestones by which we could accomplish that plan. Progress in Alzheimer's disease has been so dramatic in past years that it called for a redefinition of the diagnostic criteria. And so in an exercise conducted jointly by the Alzheimer's Association and NIA, there was recently an establishment of new criteria for diagnosis, because some of what we've learned in terms of early diagnosis, imaging, the processes that go on in the brain, has really revolutionized both the clinical as well as research aspects. We have a lot more to do, but we have a lot more wherewithal on which to do it with this newfound partnership. Similarly, for other areas of aging, the geroscience initiative that you've heard about comes from a sense that as aging progresses, the changes which occur with aging are really critical to many conditions, many organs, and therefore the interest in those beyond the self-proclaimed geriatricians or gerontologists. And so beginning a couple of years ago, the meeting that started with 5 of the NIH Institute directors expressing a common interest, we've moved now to a coalition in which some 20 institutes participate, led by Felipe Sierra at NIA, who are having the summit that you've heard about. To say that summit has been organized with the support of the Alliance and with the Gerontological Society of America, and is again a commitment to the joint interest that we all hold, all of us in this room and all of our research colleagues in aging and aging research. The meeting will be opened, I should say, by comments from Francis Collins, who has been throughout, as director of NIH, an enormous supporter of research, including that most relevant to the cause that we share in common. So I want to conclude by thanking all those who need to be thanked, and there are many. I'd like to begin by talking to the many colleagues at NIA with whom I have the great privilege of interacting day by day, colleagues, some of whom are here at NIH, and again, the leadership of NIH. Kathy Hudson, who's here, and Francis Collins, who's been a leader in these efforts over the years. Everyone in this room, the Alliance, all of the foundations who are here and contributing, importantly, the representatives of Congress, who, together with the administration, have provided unfailing bipartisan support for the mission of NIA and for all of NIH. The Advisory Council to NAPA, as you've heard, George Vredenberg, one of my colleagues on that group here, who together are providing guidance, public, private, and partnership to lead those efforts. Many individuals, clinicians, and researchers who committed their careers to caring for the old, the caregivers who provide the day-by-day care needed by some as they age, and finally to those elder individuals themselves who participate in research, expressing great commitment and courage in doing so. We have together carried through this mission through good times of financial expansion. We are weathering some difficult times, but I can only say there has been no better, no more exciting time with greater promise for aging in research than exists today. And I can think of no better opportunity than continuing to take this journey together with all of you. So thank you for the opportunity to be up here and to represent really all of you in accepting this recognition today.
This is unannounced.
This is unannounced. You can't run out yet. One more moment, one more moment. Good evening, I'm Alan Fox, and it's a great honor again to be here this year. I've been doing this for a long time. I've tried to find some sucker to co-chair this with me, and I have failed year after year. Finally, I found one. Harold Schmitz has become a very dear friend. Is the Chief Science Officer of Mars Incorporated. And Mars is, you might say, what? Mars? Candy? Aging? What the hell are we talking about? Mars has a particular interest, which I'm going to ask Harold to take a moment to describe. But I want to, before we do that, together, we want to thank all of the honorees. You've done a fabulous job. I want to thank, congratulations to each and every one of you. We want to thank the staff of the Alliance, who each year comes up with a fabulous job, including some of the Fox Kaiser staff. Trish. It's a lot. This looks easy, but it really is a lot of work to get to this point. Dan and Sue, for your terrific leadership of the Alliance and the transition of leadership that's taking place, which will take place over many years, and we're just fabulously excited about it. And also the board of the Alliance. We all, I think many of us, each and every one of us perhaps, belong to a lot of nonprofits, are very active in our communities, being very active in Washington, lots of nonprofit organizations. But the trustees of the Alliance, I think, would agree with me that we are very privileged to be connected with an organization that is a little different than many of the other organizations we're involved with. The mission is fabulous. The responsibility is really important. We come together tonight with each and every one of you in a bipartisan way. Many aspects of society are represented here tonight. But I think the members of the board really would share this view that this is a really, really special trust we hold, this organization. And we want to rededicate ourselves to the mission, and we really want each and every one of you to continue to be involved and to support us. So thank you very much for this evening. And I'm going to turn this over to Harold to take a few moments to explain why is Mars here?
Sure. Thank you, Alan. So just a brief word. Number one, it's very, very humbling to be here and see all the award winners and all that they've done. It's the reason that we're here has a lot to do with Alan. It's a long trip from Mars. It's a hell of a long trip. And there's a lot of aging that happens through the Van Allen belts and all that stuff, but it's worth it to be here, Alan. And to be serious for a moment, just very succinctly, the reason that Mars is here is two reasons. One is, well, so the background is Mars is a privately held company by the Mars family. We're privileged to be one of the largest food companies in the world, and that enterprise comprises both a pet care interest, so we're the world's largest pet care, including pet food company, as well as large human food interests. And both of those interests, we believe, are underrepresented in terms of the aging research enterprise. So in terms of the pet care interests, the dean from Mount Sinai Gerontology noted that one of their programs is actually the role that pets have in terms of healthy aging and that situation. And actually, Kathy Wotecki, who's here from the United States Department of Agriculture, started a program when she was with Mars looking at the human-animal interaction. And that program was extended through a matching grants program through the National Institutes of Health. And so it's a privilege to be with Kathy tonight and also with representatives from NIH in that regard. And there's more to do there. The second bit is that, well, nutrition has unambiguously demonstrated its value in terms of getting people to reproductive age, and the research has been brilliant in that context. The role of nutrition and what it plays in terms of healthy aging is really, it's more ambiguous. And there's tremendous promise and there's tremendous claims that are made, but there's sadly not as much science that underpins that sort of area. And there's a great role for primary prevention in that context. And we hope that by participating with this group and with Alan and Dan and the wonderful AAR team, that hopefully that interest can be sparked a little bit more and we can really take seriously the role of nutrition science in the aging context in a way that biomedical research has been taken seriously and we've heard about so much tonight. So thank you very much, and we are looking forward to working with you in the future.
Next year, you have to deliver at least 20 tables. 20 tables.
My friend Alan.
No. We'll need a larger room next year.
We'll bring him in.
We want to invite each and every one of you to enjoy a dessert. Now we have dessert outside, and we're going to break and do that in a moment. But I just want to mention that Trish Murphy, who is my assistant, has conspired with others in the Alliance and with the hotel and the pastry chef here to actually make a few of Martha Stewart's favorite recipes for dessert. And so her zesty lemon bars, her personal all-time favorite, was made according to her recipe. And her mother, Big Martha's spice cupcakes with cream cheese frosting was also made, and that'll be out there as well. So enjoy yourselves very much.